Hello everyone, this is the Hisense A5. It's an e-ink smartphone. It can also work like an e-reader, like Amazon's Kindle devices. I've had this phone for over a year now, which means that I know what's good about it, what's not good, and I made a first impressions video a while ago. This is the full review. We're gonna start by talking about the hardware, then the software. And then we'll finish by mentioning a few things that you should keep in mind if you're planning on getting either this specific device or the next versions that Hisense has made. Because, well, this is the Hisense A5. There's now the A5 Pro, the Pro CC, which is the color edition. Because this phone, as you can see, it's just in black and white. There are no colors. It does not have the ability to display colors. But if you're interested in something a bit more powerful, then Hisense has got you covered. But this review is pretty much going to apply to the other models as well. With that said, let's get started by talking about the build quality. This phone is made of plastic, but it's not the cheap kind of plastic. It actually feels pretty premium. It doesn't feel cheap. It's nice to hold, it feels solid, it doesn't make any plasticky sounds. It's just a good quality phone. It comes in black and white, but no matter like which version you choose, the front side is going to be black. So as for buttons and stuff, it has the volume buttons here, the power button, and here is a button that's unique to this phone. They call it the e-ink button. And we're gonna go over what this does. It has a front camera, the speaker, the rear camera, and a flashlight. Now, something to note, you charge it via micro USB, not Type-C. The next versions have Type-C, but this one doesn't. Here's a microphone and thankfully a headphone jack. Something to note is that there is only one speaker, so this one that you use for phone calls is also the speaker that you use to listen to music or whatever. It doesn't have a second speaker, but it's surprisingly loud and clear. An interesting thing about the audio quality is that they supposedly have a feature that makes music sound really nice when you listen with headphones. In my experience, it does sound very nice listening to music via headphones. Usually I use an equalizer to tweak things to get them just right, but I think this music on this phone sounds just right. I'm not an expert in music or anything, so don't take my word for it. It's very light. It actually feels like a fake phone, not only because it is lightweight, but also because of the screen that looks like a paper sticker. I've had it laying on the table and people ask, wait, is that a real phone? Because it really looks fake, but in a good way. You must have noticed that there is no fingerprint sensor. That is pretty inconvenient because you have to type in your passcode or not use one in the first place, which is not recommended. But the next versions, they do have a fingerprint sensor right here. So if you want that, get the next version. There's also another way to unlock it, and that is using your face. So if I open it now, it's actually locked with my face, but because you can see my face, it opened instantly. Let me hide my face and try to open it again. You see it's looking for my face, it doesn't find it, and it doesn't open. This isn't like Apple's Face ID. It's not nearly as secure. I'm pretty sure that somebody could unlock it with a picture of your face, so don't trust it too much. But if you don't want to enter your passcode every time that you open it, then this could be a good solution for you. So that was everything about the build quality. Moving on to the screen. The screen itself is glossy, but it ships with a matte screen protector already applied. There's not actually any glare. It looks like a Kindle. The weird thing is that Hisense doesn't seem to be selling replacement matte screen protectors. This one has a few scratches on it, and I would like to replace it, but I cannot find any screen protectors to buy. In my opinion, it would be much better if they just made the whole screen matte. The way e-ink or e-paper screens work, they're more like actual paper than LCD screens or AMOLED screens. Instead of having pixels that emit light, imagine it has tiny ink capsules, and if the ink is on the front, then it looks black. If it's in the back, then it looks white because there is no ink. That's a very basic explanation. What this means in practice is that this screen looks better in direct light than it looks in the dark. There is a backlight. Right now it's turned off. Let me just turn it on. So here it says brightness level and it's in 0 right now, which means if I turn off the lights, you cannot see the screen at all. It's like a piece of paper. But if we're in the dark, we just turn the brightness level up, and here you can barely see a difference, but in the dark, you can now see the screen. There are 4 different display modes. What these do is tweak the balance between having a clear display or a fast display. Because this screen basically moves ink around every time it wants to display something different, it's pretty slow. You can see here, there's quite a delay. Hisense knows that's not ideal. So if we change the display mode to speed, it's now going to be much faster, but there is a trade-off. If you look closely, you might be able to see that there is some ghosting. Not sure how visible that is right now, but basically the previous thing that the screen was displaying is still visible. It's like holding a newspaper where you can see the text that's printed in the back of the page, and that's where this button comes in. There is ghosting on the screen right now, and if I double click this button, the screen is going to refresh and is going to clear any ghosting. Now, the good thing about the display mode is that it is a per app setting. So if I want the launcher to be very clear, I can set the display mode to clear and it's going to remember that. Then if when I'm listening to music, I don't really care and I just want it to be fast, I can actually change the setting only for the music app. The default is balanced in most cases, and you can tweak it and it's going to remember it, which is a really nice touch. The resolution of the screen is quite low, but it doesn't really matter because this is more like reading a book, so you're not going to notice that the resolution is actually low. When looking at pictures, you can see that the gallery defaults to the clear display mode so that there is no ghosting. It's noticeable that it's not as good as a real screen. It's more like a newspaper. When you take photos, because I've had people ask me this, the photos are taken in color. If you send them to someone else, they're gonna be in color. But of course, because this cannot actually show colors, when you look at the pictures you've taken, they're gonna look black and white, but they're not black and white. The camera on this phone is not amazing by any means, but it works. It's fine. Like you can see here, the resolution is pretty standard. Nothing amazing. The photos don't look great. They look kind of dull and there's not much contrast, but nothing photo editing cannot fix. Now, again, the preview that you see here is monochrome, but the photos are actually in color. So if I take this photo, it looks black and white here, but if I send it to somebody else and view it from another device, it's going to look like a normal photo. You're not going to win any photography awards using this, but you can still take photos. You might be wondering if you can watch videos, and the answer is that technically you can. Obviously they don't look great, but if for some reason you really have to watch a video, you can tell what's going on, but there are no colors and there's a lot of ghosting. It doesn't look great. Just as an example, let's try to watch this cat video. In my opinion, they look pretty much like the moving newspapers in Harry Potter. I think it's kind of cool, but you're not gonna enjoy watching movies on this. A big reason that a lot of people want an e-ink smartphone is the battery life. You might want to know if it really is that good, and the answer is it really is very, very good. As you can see here in the battery section of the app, which Hisense calls details of electricity. I charged this 5 days ago and I still have 6 days left. That's way more than a week, but keep in mind that I haven't been using it that much this week. With normal daily use, if you read some books, some articles, text people, call them, it's going to last between 2 to 5 days. Again, that's really, really good considering that most modern smartphones barely last 12 hours. This is amazing. If you want a phone, you want to take it with you when you go camping or on a weekend trip, this is perfect for that because you don't even have to bring a charger with you. It's great. Regarding the battery life, you have to keep in mind that the more the e-ink screen moves, the more pictures that it displays, the more frames, the less the battery is going to last, which makes sense. This screen is never off. It is always on. The lock screen looks like this. It's never black. It's never white. Even if the battery runs out, it's still gonna be on. It's gonna say display powered off, but the screen is gonna be on because there is no off. That's great because you can actually pin images to the lock screen. For example, your boarding pass. And if you run out of battery, you're still gonna be able to see and show your boarding pass at the airport. This screen actually needs 0 power to display an image. It only needs power when it changes the image. So when the minute here changes, that's when it sucks some battery to make this change, and then it goes back to not needing any battery at all. Obviously, because it's a phone, it needs some energy just to stay on standby, but that's it. If you just use it as a clock, like I do some days because I don't use it as my main phone, it lasts about 2 weeks before it runs out of battery, and that's amazing. If you don't actually care about using this as a phone, you can use it without a SIM card as an ebook reader. You can download the Kindle app or any ebook reading app. This is Instapaper to read articles offline. And the battery is going to last a long time because when you're reading, the display doesn't have to move all the time. It just displays a static frame. And then whenever you go to the next page, it moves a little, draws a bit of energy, and that's it. You might have already noticed that some parts of this phone are still in Chinese. If you open the browser, if you go to the home page, all of the apps here are Chinese. A lot of things are in Chinese and you cannot change them. And it has a ton of Chinese apps that are pre-installed. And if you can see like a small snowflake here, that means that the phone has automatically frozen the application because you don't use it much, which is great because it wastes even less battery. The English translations are pretty laughable in many cases. And because Chinese characters take up less space, there are some layout issues like here, where it says brightness. There is no space to spell brightness because in Chinese, it's probably a single character, so it fits in here, but in English, it doesn't. And there are ridiculous spelling mistakes that any autocorrect system would have caught in an instant. It's kind of crazy to think about how they released this without running the text through an autocorrection software. Until now, I've been using the Hisense default launcher, but I don't actually use it in my daily life. I really don't like it. I'm gonna switch back to my preferred launcher, the KISS launcher, which stands for Keep It Simple Stupid, in case you're interested. Alright, so let's move on to the software, and let's start by covering the built-in applications that the phone comes with. I'm not gonna talk about the Chinese apps because I really have no idea what they do. It's important to keep in mind that some apps here, when you click them, they're gonna ask for your permission to connect to the network. So I don't even open them. I just click cancel and I have no idea what they do. Let's see, calendar. This is a pretty cute calendar application. It even shows you the weather for the current day. You'll see that some things, again, they're in Chinese. This means today. And it's a Chinese character and you cannot change it. They haven't even translated all parts of the operating system. As you probably imagine, this screen is way better at displaying simple black and white interfaces than interfaces with lots of different shades of gray or colorful interfaces. For that reason, you might find yourself using the built-in apps for things like the calendar, the calculator, simply because they're optimized for the screen. Like this one, it is visually very simple, just black text on a white background. If you were to use, say, Google Calendar, There are a lot of shadows, animations, so it doesn't really look great. In contrast, the built-in apps always look great because they have been made for the phone. Another built-in app, the calculator, same thing here. It's a very, very simple interface, and you will probably find yourself using this over third-party apps because it looks clean and it looks good. The phone application, also very nice, very clean. One thing I've noticed is that whenever you type like a number that's not in your phone contacts, it's actually going to suggest some, I guess they are Chinese public services or something like that, because I have no idea what all these characters mean. It's kind of weird. And this is a built-in gallery application. It's pretty simple. It has albums and photos. Nothing much to say about it, just going through the default applications. The rest are Chinese like social networks, magazines, ebook reading applications that I cannot use because I don't speak Chinese. I just either disable them or don't open them at all. The Kindle application works on this phone. You can read any books that you have and you can buy books and everything works just fine. This phone does not have Google Play services, so you cannot use Google Play Books, but any other application is going to work for reading books. If you'd like, I can make another video to go over some popular ebook reading applications and how well they work. Because this phone was made for the Chinese market where Google is banned, it doesn't come with Google Play services installed, and you cannot install them yourself either, as far as I'm aware. That means that you cannot download apps from the Play Store like you normally do, but there are alternatives. You can use, for example, the Aurora Store, which is the Google Play Store, but with a different interface. So you can still download anything you want because there is no Google payment processing. You're not going to be able to use applications that you have paid for, and you're not going to be able to buy new applications. Other Play Store alternatives are APK Mirror, APK Pure, and F-Droid for free and open source apps. Moving on to cool features, let's start with the permission manager. So when you install applications, it asks you which permissions you want to enable and which you don't want to right away, instead of asking you each time that the app requests it. I think that's very nice, and when you install an app, it also offers to clean up the APK file for you, so you keep as much of your storage as you can. It asks if you want to delete the installation package, which is the APK file, and then shows you which permissions the app requests. Something that's kind of annoying is that whenever you install an application, it always tells you that it is not an official application and that it might be unsafe, and that the only safe way to install applications is from their Chinese app store, which I don't think is true. You can't really turn off this feature. Once the app is installed, it asks you if you want to let it turn on by itself. If this is off, it means that the phone optimizes battery usage and doesn't let the app run whenever it wants. If you trust the application, it's going to allow all of the permissions. The default option is Inquire, which means when the app requests this permission, it's going to ask you if you want to allow it or not, but you have the option of either rejecting or accepting the permission request in advance. I really like this feature, and I wish that other phones would have it as well. Another interesting feature is screen time, which is something that a lot of recent Android phones have, and iPhones as well. Basically, it breaks down your device usage and shows you which apps you have used and for how long. You can also set a limit for yourself, and basically has all the features that Google has introduced in more recent versions of Android. In the settings, you can customize some special functions of all the buttons. One that I really like is double pressing the volume up button to turn on the flashlight when the phone is off. So when the phone is locked and you suddenly need a flashlight, you can just take it out and double click the volume up button and it's going to turn on the flashlight. And again, you double press and it turns it off. You must have noticed that there are no navigation buttons. You can turn those on if you want, but the default way of navigating is by using gestures. If you swipe up from the middle, you go home. If you swipe up from the left or the right, you get the screen settings. And if you want to go back, you swipe like this or like this. If you've ever tried to use a call recorder on your phone, you know that they're hit or miss. On some devices, like Samsung devices, they don't work at all. But this has a built-in call recorder that works every single time. To access the calls that it has recorded, you go to the recorder application, you press the list icon here, and then call. And here you can see all of the calls that you have ever recorded. In the settings, you can choose whether you want calls to be recorded automatically, and if yes, in which cases. So in my case, I have set it to always record calls from unknown numbers that are not in your contact list. And just take a look at this. Unknown. Like, they don't even run spell checking. It's crazy. Anyway, so you can have it automatically record calls from unknown numbers as well as calls from specific numbers in your contact list. So you may not want every single call recorded by default, but there might be a few people that when they call you, you want those specific calls to be recorded by default, and that's what this does. I think it's amazing. The quality of the recording is also great. It doesn't sound weird. There is also a built-in firewall, which lets you deny internet access to some applications, and you can find it by going to More Network Settings, then Traffic Monitor, and then Network Control. And here you're going to get a list of apps and two switches, data and Wi-Fi, which they call WLAN, like in Germany for some reason. Here you can either grant or deny access to either data, Wi-Fi, or both, to any app you want. And that's something that I don't think any other Android phones in the West have. If you root your phone, you can do it, but if you don't, you pretty much can't. We've talked about how amazing the battery life on this phone is, and you might be surprised to see that there's actually a super power saving mode. With 55% and the light usage, I'm gonna get 5 more days out of the phone, but if I turn on super power saving mode, I'm gonna get 10 more days of life. And what super power saving mode does, if you have a Samsung phone, you can already guess. It disables most applications and makes your phone kind of dumb, but it gives you more juice. So if I turn this on, the phone turns into a dumber version of itself. You can edit which applications are going to be available. I have phone, messages, Telegram, which is my messenger of choice, Osmand, Maps, and Notes. Speaking of maps, you can use any GPS navigation application that you want, including Google Maps. Some other good GPS navigation apps are Move It, which is for public transit, and Magic Earth. When you open Google Maps, it's going to prompt you to install Google Play services, which you actually cannot do, just ignore it. Location services work very, very well. They use something called Tencent location services instead of Google location services. Getting a GPS signal is very quick. I'm not going to show you my exact location, but it knows where I am. It's very nice. So again, you can use any navigation application that you want, including Google Maps, and it's going to work. I think this is fantastic to use in a car or on a motorcycle, on a bicycle, because instead of becoming harder to see when there's a lot of light, it's actually easier to see. So if you're looking for something you can use as a GPS system for your car or your bike, then this is gonna work great. Something to note is that there is no compass. When you're in navigation mode and you turn the phone around, it's not gonna know that you are turning it around. That makes it harder to navigate on foot because you're not sure which direction you're looking at, but it's not the end of the world. I think the newer versions do have a compass. Earlier I mentioned the ability to pin a screenshot to your lock screen, and I gave the example of the boarding pass at the airport. Let's see how this works. When you take a screenshot by using the default combination of volume down and power, you get a menu with options, and one of them is pin screenshot. So if you click that, it's going to say that the screenshot is pinned and you can view it in the pinned, but where is the pinned. It's in your lock screen. If I turn off the screen now, you can see the screenshot that I just took. If this was a boarding pass, then you would be able to move around the airport with your boarding pass right here, and the screen would not go off. After 10 minutes, it reverts back to the regular lock screen, but you can see the screenshot again by double tapping. I think they do it for security reasons, so if you forget and you leave your boarding pass here, strangers see your phone, they're not gonna have your personal details. If you have multiple pinned screenshots, you can double tap to switch between them. This was a boarding pass for a bus some time ago, and it's still here. This is much like a printed boarding pass. They can scan it at the airport and it works just like a printed piece of paper. It's amazing. And if you run out of power, this is still gonna be here. It's gonna say device powered off, and it's still gonna show the screenshot. It's literally like a piece of paper. If you're wondering how to delete those screenshots from your pinned section, that's a bit more complicated. When you are in the default launcher, because this only works in the default launcher for some reason, if you swipe up, you can enter a special section that's called the e-ink screen mode. In the first section, you can see your pinned screenshots and you can delete them. So let's do just that. And if you don't have any pinned screenshots, or if you just navigate left and right by using the arrow buttons here, this is pretty much a simplified launcher. I'm not sure why they call it e-ink screen. This is for people who are mostly interested in using the Hisense A5 as an e-reader, and they don't care much about the rest of the functions. You can customize everything, the kind of clock you want, like widgets, for example. Here is a widget from a notebook application that I've downloaded. I'm not sure why you would use this over a normal launcher, but if you want to use it, it is here. You can choose the apps that you want on the home screen, and you can add more widgets and sections. If you want to exit this mode, you either press the home button or you swipe down. The thing is, if you want to access the e-ink screen mode, you have to be in the default Vision launcher, they call it. I cannot do it from the Kiss launcher that I like to use. So whenever I want to delete a screenshot from the pinned section, I have to switch my launcher from the default app settings and go through this process. That's annoying, and it would be much easier if they had a quick setting style to enter the e-ink screen mode, but that's how it works for now. Before I end this review, there are some things you should keep in mind if you're interested in getting the phone. Other than the things we've already mentioned, so you should know that this device is a very, very aggressive battery saver, which is on all the time. Basically, it kills any application that runs in the background, and that includes messaging applications like WhatsApp, Telegram, and anything else. You can turn that off for each app in the settings, but sometimes it still kills it if it's running in the background, so you might miss some messages every now and then. It helps keep the battery life so amazing, but it's something that you should be aware of and be careful of. Another thing is that there is no voice assistant like the Google Assistant or Siri. They do actually have one, but it's only for the Chinese market. So if you long press the e-ink button, it's going to ask you to agree to the voice assist terms of service, which I'm not going to do. This is a Chinese voice assistant, and the annoying thing is that you cannot remap this button. Every time you long press it by accident, it's going to ask you to agree to the terms of service. And the biggest thing that you should keep in mind, which we have already mentioned, is that the device does not have Google services of any sort. Now, the problem is that a lot of the apps that most of us in the West use require Google services to work. Sometimes they require Google services for security reasons, and sometimes they literally need them. The biggest issue could be if your e-banking application requires Google services, and the truth is that most of them do. If they do, you won't be able to use them on this phone at all. The good thing is that you can still use the browser to go to your bank's e-banking website and you can do everything there because this is just a normal, browser, but that's not very convenient. If you really depend on your e-banking application or other perhaps government-issued applications which tend not to work without Google services, again, for security reasons, you might not want to get this phone. Now, if you've seen the Lite phone and are looking for a cheaper alternative, I think this is it. You can install a Lite phone inspired custom launcher like this one, the Slim launcher, and it works like a Lite phone, only you actually have Google Maps and cameras and texting and a browser and whatever else you may need, but it's still minimal and not distracting, and the screen being like this actually encourages you to use it less, if that makes sense. If any of you are interested in a video where I showcase various minimal launchers like this one, let me know because I have a few ideas and I can make this video for you so you can see if this would be a good Lite phone alternative or not. I think it is, but if you want a video, let me know. To conclude, if you're thinking about getting an e-ink smartphone, I don't think you're going to go wrong by getting the Hisense A5. The price is fantastic. At this time, it's around €200. And if you want to get the Pro version or the color version, both of which include a fingerprint sensor, they're a little more expensive, but I think both of them are less than €300. So a lot of manufacturers promise the world. They say this phone has the best battery life, this phone has the best camera or whatever. The manufacturer here in this case says, okay, this is our phone. It works as an e-reader. It has an e-ink screen. Sometimes there's ghosting, but it's not severe. And it really does what it says it is going to do. It's a simple device. It looks great. It works well for the most part. There aren't really any serious bugs or anything. And it's just a good device. If you want to try having a minimal phone without sacrificing conveniences like maps and the ability to take photos, then I think this is a fantastic choice and I would highly recommend getting the phone. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions about the Hisense or any of the apps mentioned, feel free to let me know and I will reply. Thanks again. See you.